All right, guys, it looks like we are live. Sorry. I had a little delay there, so I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you can hear all right. Quick little sound check there, but great to have all of you come on in, one and all. I hope you're all doing well this evening. Come on in here. Great to see you guys here. I see we already have a bunch of people. Great to see you guys. Wow, it is time to talk about, I just didn't know what else to put in the title. We've got to talk about this absolute sham of an impeachment here, day one. There were some notable things going on today, despite the fact that the entire impeachment trial is a pathetic sham and a total waste of time. Who agrees with me? Put it in the chat, right? Put it in the chat. Great to see you guys. Oh, wonderful to see all you guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Marge. Love you. Right back at you. Hello from Montana, June. Great to see you. Hey, guys. Wonderful to see you all. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about this ridiculous kabuki theater here that the fabricators in the mainstream media, those left-wing activists disguised as journalists who fabricate left-wing reality, they actually try to convince us that we need to take this seriously, when in point of fact, no one's buying it. Did you see the latest Rasmussen poll? Let me get it here. Just came out, I think today or yesterday. A new Rasmussen Reports national telephone poll, an online survey, finds that only 11% of likely U.S. voters think it is very likely the Senate will convict Trump on high crimes and misdemeanors. I don't know what they're smoking. Another 20% say conviction is somewhat likely. So that's altogether 31%. 28% thinks it's not likely that the Senate will convict Trump. And 36% say that conviction is not likely at all. So what, 64% say this is a joke. Only 15% of voters say they're going to watch the entire Senate impeachment trial on TV. These are people who obviously don't have jobs. And 21% expect to watch most of it. So that is a total of, 36%. 30% say they'll watch some, but 32% say they're not going to do anything. So the highest number out of the four are those who don't want to watch any of it. And so when it just comes to the sheer optics of this thing, this impeachment circus, it's recognized by most Americans as a joke. When 62% of those polls are saying they're either going to watch a little bit of it or they're not going to watch any of it at all. When 62% of the public is saying that, 60% of the public believes this is an official waste of time and money. It is simply not worth 60% of the public's time. So what the hell are they doing it for? Well, that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. I want to talk about what's really going on in D.C., shall we? All right. So before we get into the details of what happened today, you are very much invited. I'd love to have you participate in our exclusive online Q&A this Thursday night, February 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We hold these live Q&As every Thursday night. They're exclusive for our Insiders Club members. So if you're not a part of the Insiders Club, all you need to do is click on the link below and you can sign up. And as a special incentive, you're going to get your very first week absolutely free. So it's your way of being able to try out the Insiders Club. And we do this every week where we have direct online contact, Q&A via Zoom. In fact, next week, we have a lot of special guests that we're lining up. Next week, we've got Andy No. He'll be coming in. He'll be discussing his new book, Unmasked, about his firsthand account with Antifa in Portland. So you're going to be able to ask Andy all your questions. You have direct access to him. We like to think of the Insiders Club as a backstage pass to the movers and shakers of the conservative movement all over the world. So make sure to take advantage of this week-long free trial by clicking on the link below. And I'll see you Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for our live Q&A. It'll be really awesome to chat with you. All right, so let's dive right in here. This is from the Gateway Pundit. After initial arguments from the House prosecution team and from President Donald Trump's attorneys, and I'll get to that in a second, but I wanted to zero in on this. The U.S. Senate voted 56-44 Keep in mind, last time it was 55-45, 56-44 to proceed with the impeachment trial of a private citizen, Donald J. Trump. Senate Democrats, and now 6 Republicans voted on Tuesday to move forward with the impeachment trial and waste time and money. As someone once said, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? Our nation is in such good shape. We have no debt. The pandemic is over. The borders are secure. Everything is so wonderful. Thank you, guys, that you've set up our society so well that now you can take the time to do this. But of course, none of that's true. So what are they doing? They're just wasting time, which is all stupid politicians do. That's why Trump is president, right? Now, as you can tell, the Republicans picked they picked up 1 vote to join the Democrats in this unprecedented assault on our Constitution. So you have the same old 5 clowns. You got Ben Sassy Pants. You got Pat Toomey, who's out of there in just a matter of months. You got Susan Collins. That's what you expect. You got Lisa Murkowski. That's what you expect from her. I really hope Sarah Palin primaries her. You've got Mittens Romney. And then you've got Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. You guys in Louisiana better primary this rhino nut as fast as you possibly can. I think he's up for re-election this year. He came in 2015. I know that Ben Sassy Pants, who just won re-election, he's getting an earful from the Republicans in Nebraska, kind of like Liz Cheney's been getting. But my heavens, guys, Louisiana, come on. Can you please send us someone better than these ridiculous rhinos like this guy, Bill Cassidy? Get rid of him. I think he's up for re-election. Please primary this guy, or forget it. Let's just do a Patriot Party. This is absurd. So the general assessment of Trump's legal team and how they argued today is frankly pretty lackluster. Okay. Now it doesn't matter. It does not matter. They could be children up there, licking lollipops the whole time. It doesn't matter. I don't think they're going to get anywhere near the number of Republicans they would need to convict. Very, very few people believe that's possible. This is, as Rand Paul said, it's dead on arrival. It is kabuki theater, but it would be nice to at least see an awesome legal team. And I'm not sure what we've got here. Bruce Castor, he was the first one up. I think he was a former Pennsylvania attorney general. Again, the general consensus is he was rather underwhelming. But David Schoen, who's the second lawyer arguing on behalf of Trump, he went rather scorched earth on the Democrats, accusing them of using impeachment as a tool for revenge, which we're going to get into in a moment, and treating it like blood sport. That's the word he used. So Schoen, of course, argued that impeachment is simply not constitutionally valid impeachment is simply not constitutionally valid without the ability to remove the public figure from office. You cannot impeach a private citizen. You can't remove someone from office who is not in office, does not occupy the office. So the Democrats have, in effect, remember, liberals destroy everything they touch. So the Democrats have turned impeachment into a weapon of getting even with their political enemies, even when they're no longer in office. People say, oh, well, what if Trump committed all these crimes and then all he has to do is resign, and you don't impeach. You take him to court. He's a private citizen. If he committed all these crimes and you can prove it, take him to court. But you can't impeach him. You can't impeach him any more than you can have a married bachelor or square circle. You cannot impeach someone who can't be impeached. It's beyond me that leftists just have thrown logic out the window so much you can't even explain simple subject predicate relationships. A bachelor is an unmarried man. Someone who can be impeached is in office to be removed. A circle is radii of equal length. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. If you think that a man who can't be impeached can be impeached, I just don't know where we even begin. So anyway, getting back to Schoen, he gave a good speech in that sense. He blasted the Democrats for the theatrics after they played those doctored video clips of the events that occurred on January 6th, where they deliberately left out Trump's instructions, his explicit instructions that the demonstrations were to be peaceful. There is no way around this, okay? Just from a hermeneutic perspective, the analysis of a written text, there's no way around this. Trump simply did not call for the use of force at any point in his speech. But he actually, quite the opposite, he told people to protest peacefully, quote, peacefully, and to, quote, cheer on their allies in Congress. That's what they were supposed to do. And he later repeated that after violence erupted, telling his supporters to respect and obey the Capitol Police. Actually, not only that, but Mark Meadows, the former White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows can objectively prove that President Trump had offered assistance multiple times leading up to January 6th, assistance to for security around the Capitol building. So he clearly had every intention of this demonstration to obey law and order, every intention. So there's no way around that. This is a kangaroo court. They don't care. The Democrats didn't give him due process. They didn't give him the ability to defend himself. They just threw this together and voted on it. 10 rhinos in the House, led by Liz Cheney, voted to convict out of just pure vindictive resentment of Trump, what he's done to their precious neocon warmongering Republican Party. So now you've got 6 Republicans, rhinos, Diablos, I prefer, Democrats and all but label, in the Senate, all of whom need to be primaried and gotten rid of. Why not just put Democrats in there? Just at least it's less frustrating. I'd prefer a Democrat just fulfilling their job description than a rhino constantly frustrating us. So as we're beginning this, we've got 44 Republican senators who voted to condemn the sham trials, an unconstitutional proceeding, including Mitch McConnell, right? Assuring that the event has really no chance in the end of a conviction. This is why I don't think it matters how Trump's lawyers argue. Again, that just makes for the kabuki theater of CNN, right? That's the fake news. That's literally the fabricated news, right? You have two kinds of news. You have an actual event that happens, a tsunami, an earthquake, or a car crash, something like that. And then you have fabricated news. You have a 24/7 corporate news agency that all have their 24/7 websites up or their 24/7 cable news networks. And they have got to come up with something newsworthy every minute of the day. So they fabricate. That's why Trump is brilliant when he says this is all just fake news. So they're going to banter back and forth on all this nonsense. They're going to bring in Cassidy. They're going to bring in Mittens Romney, as they always do, as their representative Republicans, even though 5% of the party actually gives them the time of day. But Rand Paul said it best. In the end, this is just a sham impeachment. It is dead on arrival. That's how he sees it. Lindsey Graham as well. That's a key thing for everyone to keep in mind. There are rhinos, and then there are rhinos. Okay, so maybe there are rhinos capital R, rhinos lowercase r, and we could see Lindsey Graham as a rhino lowercase r. He's an opportunist. So he can be Mr. MAGA one day, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Total Neocon Liz Cheney supporter the other. You want to keep an eye on him. Whereas Mittens Romney is never, ever deplorables. He's never pro-Trump. He's never MAGA. So, he's rhino capital R. He has nothing to do with us. He would wish we'd all leave the party, which we may give him the satisfaction for, and then the Republican Party implodes. But having said that, I think you look at someone like Lindsey Graham, who is rhino lowercase r, who will be MAGA one day and not the other day. Where is he in all this? Well, he's already come out and said this is a sham. This is ridiculous. This is tearing the country apart, and he doesn't want any part in it whatsoever. And so Trump is slated now to become the First president to be acquitted in impeachment trials twice. Okay. Perhaps permanently establishing the impeachment process as a total partisan hack political maneuver and turning the presidency into just this. I mean, they're trying to turn the presidency into more or less a de facto parliamentary office subject to the desires of Congress. It's just so ridiculous. Schoen had some pretty good lines here. Let me get him here. Quote, they want to put you, the Democrats, they want to put you through a 16-hour presentation over 2 days, focusing on this as if it were some sort of blood sport. And to what end? For unity? For accountability? Not for any of those. For surely there are much better ways to achieve each. It is again for pure, raw, misguided partisanship that makes them believe playing to our worst instincts is good. They don't need to show you movies to prove that the riot happened. Here we'll stipulate that it happened and you know all about it. This is a process fueled irresponsibly by base hatred by these House managers and those that gave them their charge. And they are willing to sacrifice our national character to advance their hatred and their fear that one day they might not be the party in power. They have a very different view of democracy and freedom. Going forward with this impeachment trial of a former president of the United States is unconstitutional. And as a matter of policy, it's wrong as wrong can be for all of us as a nation. So that's some pretty good stuff there. Now, Schoen, I think, is onto it when he said that this process is being fueled by a base hatred for Trump and for his followers, for the deplorables. And that's key to what's really going on here. That's what I want to develop, because I don't think that's incidental. That's really important to really understand what's going on. Now, before we get into that, I see, all right, we got, almost 4,700 people coming on in. Thank you very much, Bill. Very appreciated. Before we get into, if you've just joined us, you are invited to our live Q&A Thursday night, this Thursday night, February 11th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where you're going to have live access to me and our special guests to ask your questions. Now, these live Q&As are exclusive only for our Insiders Club members. If you're not an Insiders Club member, just click on the link below, and for a limited time, you can get your first week absolutely free, no obligation. Now, we'd love for you to stay as a member. You'll be networking with conservatives all over the world, thousands of them. You're going to absolutely love it. And we need that bonding and that fellowship now more than ever. So click on that link below, become an Insiders Club member, get your first week absolutely free. And I'll see you Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for our live Q&A. And then next Monday night for our live chat with Andy No, talking about Portland Antifa that he's had direct contact with. It's really fascinating stuff. So look forward to seeing you guys there on Thursday night and Monday night. All right. So what's going on here? Why are the Democrats doing this? Why are the Democrats and the rhinos doing this? I think it's important. I think it's important to see that this is part of the duopoly. This is part of both parties. Now, the good news is it's a very small smidgen of the Republicans. That's the good news. But I think what we're seeing here is generally referred to in the sociological literature as resentment politics. Write that down. It's a good term to keep in mind. It's called resentment politics. It's in the scholarly literature. It's pretty interesting because resentment is a very powerful emotion, as you know. Resentment is generally considered a moral indignation, a very visceral anger at having been treated unfairly. Okay, so there is a tremendous feeling of ill will as a result of being treated unfairly. And the key here is that resentment is always directed at another. It always entails an us versus them view of the world if you're dealing with groups, right? So what's so interesting about that in terms of resentment is that political elites have for centuries been very worried about resentment being fostered in the citizenry, in the public, because they thought it was a dangerous emotion that could lead to rebellion. All right, so this goes all the way back to classical Athens, Rome, you name it, ancient Rome. And so what you tend to see in terms of a successful politics, particularly a successful political rhetoric, is they tended to foster, politicians, good ones, tended to foster an internal unity among the people with their leaders, right? By creating the specter of a hostile and, dangerous outside enemy. So we've talked about the notion of the process of segmentary oppositions. It's a fancy term in anthropological literature that basically says that my brother and I may always be fighting each other, driving our moms crazy, right, as we're kids. But then when our cousins come over, my brother and I might team up if we get into a little bit of a tiff with our cousins, and then we're going to bond, and then they're going to bond together, and now we've got an issue. But then when we go outside to play with the neighbors' kids and we get into an altercation, my brother and my cousins will all bond together and will go against the neighborhood kids. And then if there were other neighborhood kids coming in from another neighborhood coming in to try to cause trouble with us, then everyone in the neighborhood bonds together, right? That's what's known as segmentary oppositions. And so the great politicians and rhetoricians of classical Athens and Rome and all throughout Christendom and the like, and all throughout the ages, Japanese classical politics and all that sort of stuff, they this is how the North Korean a lot of people think North Korea is communist, but I tend to go with a whole set of scholarship that says they're actually Japanese fascists. They're imperial fascists from the Japanese imperial era. Regardless, the way they keep their entire government structure solid and stable is by creating a racist myth of all the other nations around them. So one of the ways that you foster an internal unity among the people with the state is by creating the specter of a hostile and unreasonable outside enemy. Scholars have noticed that since the 1960s, okay, the unity, that internal unity, particularly here in the States, but also in Europe, that internal unity was sacrificed by more and more activists, particularly left-wing activists, and their eventual politicians, identifying not an external enemy, but say it with me, an internal enemy, an enemy from within. And what that did is that repurposed the resentment. It turned resentment into a friend because it transformed resentment into a tool for dividing the populace and diffusing the resistance. So the Democrats have been masters at demonizing their political opponents as racists and bigots and misogynists and homophobes and patriarchs and white supremacists and the like, ultimately so as to be able to divide and to conquer. It's to keep, in effect, it's to keep the resentment and the animus moving between citizen and citizen, which keeps the animus away from the political class. The political class deflects any resentment by deliberately causing resentment to the other within the society. It's very, very interesting. So resentment politics by its nature seeks to create a very strong animosity between citizens. That's why the Democrats always seem to want to just have us beat each other up. Same with the Rhino Republicans. Rhino Republicans are all for Hillary's comment of the basket of deplorables and, half his voters and so forth, or CNN consigning 74 million voters as needing to be deprogrammed and all that sort of stuff, or being the equivalent of Al Qaeda. And one theory behind this is that, again, politicians foster this kind of animosity within their populations so as to divide and conquer. As long as the people are fighting each other, they're going to be too busy and distracted to challenge the political class. Makes sense? So what made Trump so amazing? What made Trump so absolutely amazing? Trump was such a threat to the political class because he turned resentment politics in on itself. He made the political class, once again, the legitimate object of disdain. For Trump, it didn't matter who you were. Didn't matter what race you were, didn't matter what gender, didn't matter what sexual orientation. If you were an American, he was here to protect you. He was here to make sure our borders were secured. He was here to make sure you definitely had a job and a damn good paying one. And he was here to celebrate our culture, customs, and traditions rather than spin and denigrate on them the way resentment politicians do all the time through political correctness. Trump once again turned resentment on the permanent political class, the ones who are fostering divisions among us. And he made the political class the legitimate object of disdain and ridicule. Those stupid politicians. Remember his very first debate during the primaries of 2016. Stupid politicians. They're the ones who are just the problem with everything. These stupid politicians. So the new political animosity that is increasingly rising over the world is the one that was feared by the classical politicians of Athens and Rome. It's an animosity, and Marie Antoinette, right? It's the animosity between the people and the political class, the ruled versus the rulers, the ordinary citizen versus the oligarch. So what I think you're seeing here with this whole impeachment nonsense is the attempt by the Democrats and establishment Republicans to reset the equilibrium and get Americans to start hating each other again. Why else would they be doing this? And this is what the impeachment is ultimately about. It's about making Trump a legitimate object of hatred so as to fan the flames of animosity between the American left and the deplorables, which takes the spotlight off of the spotlight of hostility away from the political class. It's really horrific. Absolutely horrific stuff if you think about it. But it's the kind of politics that leftists have been fanning for decades now. All right. So that's what I think is really going on here. I think what you're seeing here is nothing less than this absolute animosity that they're trying to create between us as citizens. This is the heart of resentment politics. The heart of resentment politics is to create an animosity between us, so we're fighting each other, which makes us too busy to point our legitimate resentment at the political class who rule for their own benefit at the expense of the values and interests of the people. So that's why they're trying to make Trump the object now, because they see him as a possibility of being able to get us to start fighting each other again. So I think that's what's really going on here, and it really is pernicious, terribly pernicious stuff. All right, guys, we can keep going on, but we're going to talk more about this on our live Q&A, and if you want to ask me any of your questions directly, you can do that. You are invited to our exclusive live Q&A Thursday night, February 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, where we're going to be having live access with each other and our special guests later on in the next week. So you can ask your questions to us. Now, these live Q&As are exclusive for just our Insiders Club members, so you can join by clicking on that link below. For a limited time, you'll get your first week absolutely free. It's our gift to you. You can join us without any obligation to see how you like it. But we'd love for you to stay as a member. You get to talk to Andy Ngo next week on Monday night. Andy Ngo of his book, Unmask, and his experience, direct experience with Portland Antifa. It's pretty amazing stuff. So click on that link below, become an Insiders Club member, get your backstage pass to all the movers and shakers of nationalist, populist, traditionalism, conservatism all over the world. Get your first week absolutely free. And I'll see you Thursday night, 8 p.m. for our live Q&A, and the next night for our live chat with Andy Ngo. I'm looking forward to it, guys. All right. God bless. We'll see you. Take care.